Okay, now we come into chapter 31, and we're going to go over the entire chapter right here. And Moses went and spake these words unto all Israel. And he said unto them, I am 120 years old this day. I can no more go out and come in. Also the Lord hath said unto me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan into the promised land. Adam Clark commented, the life of Moses, the great prophet of God and lawgiver of the Jews, was exactly the same in length, 120 years, as the time Noah employed in preaching righteousness to the antediluvian world, that before the flood. These 120 years were divided into three remarkable periods. 40 years he lived in Egypt, in Pharaoh's court, acquiring all the learning and wisdom of the Egyptians. And that really strikes me just real quick. Moses, he was not named their high priest, but he was kind of like their king, the Israelites. He was kind of like their king. So it's very astonishing to me how he grew up in the kingly courts and knew how to deal with servants. Unlike any of the other Israelites, Moses, he was placed there, I believe, for a good reason. But for the first 40 years in Pharaoh's court, 40 years he sojourned in the land of Midian in a state of preparation for his great and important mission. And 40 years he guided, led, and governed the Israelites under the express direction and authority of God. In all, 120 years. Verse 3, the Lord thy God, he will go over before thee, and he will destroy these nations from before thee, and thou shalt possess them. And Joshua, he shall go over before thee, as the Lord hath said. And the Lord shall do unto them as he did unto Sihon and to Og, kings of the Amorites, and unto the land of them, whom he destroyed. Now notice, the Lord thy God will go, and Joshua, another name for Jesus, they mean the exact same, they're just alternate names. So one could very easily say Joshua, Yeshua, Jesus, and Jesus, he shall go over before thee. Of course, Joshua being a type of Christ. One of the finest types of Christ, if you ask me. And the Lord shall give them up before your face, that ye may do unto them according to all the commandments which I have commanded you. Be strong and of good courage. Fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. And Moses called unto Joshua, and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, Be strong and of good courage. For thou must go with this people into the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it. Now this very same command is carried out throughout Scripture, and it's given unto different classes, but all of God's people are encouraged to be strong and of good courage. It really tells us about how fearful that they probably were to enter into the land. Of course they were. But always, whenever you're going into a fearful situation where you're just affrighted at every thought of it, just remember the Lord is with you. Be strong and of good courage. Many years later, in the heat of battle, Joab, David's general, Joab, he found himself in a very frightening position, he and his army, and they were being surrounded, seemingly, by their enemies. And we read in 2 Samuel 10:9, when Joab saw that the front of the battle was against him before and behind, he chose of all the choice men of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And all of them being full of fear, Joab says, Be of good courage, and let us play the men, meaning be courageous, be like men. And let us play the men for our people and for the cities of our God, and the Lord do that which seemeth him good. In the days before David was about to die, Solomon is about to reign as king, and he's only 20 years old. And can you imagine a 20-year-old, basically a boy, reigning over Israel as king? We read in 1 Kings 2, Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be thou strong, therefore, and show thyself a man. Be strong, Solomon. You're going up against visible and invisible forces. Be strong. Do the right thing. So it is one thing to say this about an army or about a king, but the very same thing is told to us by Paul the Apostle, in which he wrote unto the Corinthians, but the Lord, no doubt, desires this of us, the church as well. 1 Corinthians 16, Watch ye, stand fast in the faith, quit you like men, meaning be strong, courageous, be strong. Let all your things be done with charity. Verse 8. And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And Moses wrote this law, and delivered it unto the priests, the sons of Levi, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and unto all the elders of Israel. And Moses commanded them, saying, At the end of every 7 years, in the solemnity of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel is come to appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, which wound up being Jerusalem, thou shalt read this law before all Israel in their hearing. And real quickly, what's the year of release? The most proper time that could be chosen for the purpose when they were freed from debts. Every 7 years, free everyone, servants, everyone from their debts and troubles and cares of a worldly nature, and at liberty to attend to the reading of it without distraction, and when all Israel were required to appear before the Lord, even the women and children. Gather the people together, men and women and children, and thy stranger that is within thy gates, that they may hear, and that they may learn and fear the Lord your God, and observe to do all the words of this law. And that their children, which have not known anything, may hear and learn to fear the Lord your God, so long as ye live in the land whither ye go over Jordan to possess it. And the Lord said unto Moses after that, Behold, thy days approach that thou must die. Call Joshua, and present yourselves in the tabernacle of the congregation, that I may give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tabernacle of the congregation. Now back in Numbers 27, Moses, he is already told that this would occur, that Joshua would take over for him. This was several weeks before this time. Moses only has like just a day or two left at this point, but there were several weeks remaining, several things to do. Put his house in order, make sure all the people know the law. And that is basically what the entire book of Deuteronomy is. Just Moses making sure everyone knows the law and everything, preparing for his death. And it ultimately culminates in the very last chapter, which we're coming up on. It ultimately culminates with Moses dying. And the Lord appeared in the tabernacle in a pillar of a cloud, and the pillar of the cloud stood over the door of the tabernacle. And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a-whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have made with them. They haven't even crossed over the Jordan, and Moses is already being told, look, they're going to fall into such evil, they're going to lose this. But notice this, Moses is told, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? They still say this to this day. And I will surely hide my face in that day for all the evils which they shall have wrought, and that they are turned unto other gods. And as we have already went over time and time again, this would occur hundreds of years later at the Babylonian captivity. But ultimately, it's believed that this is pointing towards their rejection of Christ. In 70 A.D., they have only recently, in the past 100 years, in 1948, regained the land of Israel because they had rejected their king, Christ. And so in 70 A.D., all the way up to 1948, they did not possess the land. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto their fathers, that floweth with milk and honey, and they shall have eaten and filled themselves and waxed fat, then will they turn unto other gods, and serve them, and provoke me, and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are befallen them, that this song shall testify against them as a witness. For it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination, which they go about, even now, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. But do take note, my friends, and I've spoken on the importance of music and that in which we allow to rhythmically play in our minds and how it can change people. Well, the Lord is telling Moses, look, write this song. And it's to be a type of sermon There is reason to believe that Samuel, the final judge, before the kings would rise up, there is reason to believe that Samuel, the first person who, so far as we know, affected anything of importance towards the establishment of a system of religious education in Israel after Moses, now he would come some 400 years later, employed the same means for the purpose, in essence, that of psalms and spiritual songs. The first companies of prophets were evidently singers and minstrels. Remember how Samuel tells Saul, go down there and you'll find these people playing music and they're prophesying. You can see that in 1 Samuel 10, 19, all these. Hence their remarkable influence over Saul. And if they taught the Psalms to the people, as they learnt them under Samuel and David, especially historical psalms like the 78th, 105th, 106th, and so on, a very efficacious means of spreading the knowledge of God in Israel was in their hands. So I ask you, my friends, if the Lord himself uses songs in order to change a people's mood and minds and character and to put them on the right path, don't you think that the devil uses evil music to set people on the wrong? Moses, therefore, wrote this song the same day and taught it the children of Israel, and he gave Joshua the son of Nun a charge and said, be strong and of good courage, for thou shalt bring the children of Israel into the land which I swear unto them, and I will be with thee. And it came to pass, when Moses had made an end of writing the words of this law in a book, until they were finished, that Moses commanded the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, saying, take this book of the law, and put it in the side of the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may be there for a witness against thee. Now this is not the 2 tables of 10 commandments. This is all the law written down for them. Put it in the side of the ark, though. This is written down, put it in the side of the ark. The 2 tables of the Decalogue, the 10 commandments, they were actually in the ark. 1 Kings 8 and 9. The book of the law, however, different from that, was to be laid up in the Holy of Holies, close by the Ark of the Covenant, probably in a chest. You can read in 2 Kings 22 about how they found the book of the law, and it was probably located near the Ark in the Holy of Holies. For I know thy rebellion and thy stiff neck. Behold, while I am yet alive with you this day, ye have been rebellious against the Lord, and how much more after my death? Gather unto me all the elders of your tribes and your officers, that I may speak these words in their ears, and call heaven and earth to record against them. For I know that after my death ye will utterly corrupt yourselves, and turn aside from the way which I have commanded you, and evil will befall you in the latter days, because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger through the work of your hands. Very telling verse right there. Of course, whenever it's speaking of the latter days, that's at the time of Jesus, all the way up into the present time. It can mean any of that, and this is most likely pointing towards whenever they rejected Christ. But it could also be pointing to these days, how even more things will come upon them. And we know by the book of Revelation that it will. And Moses spake in the ears of all the congregation of Israel the words of this song until they were ended.